So what's going on, guys? It's your boy Nistro here, and you guys asked for it time and time and time again for the past few months, and it's finally time. It's finally time for us to go through all the possibilities and the combos with Goblin Biker Fiendsmith. As you can see here, I've even prepared for the occasion. Chainlink TCG had this awesome Fiendsmith Field Center. I believe this is still in stock, so I think you can still get it. But you know, I had the Diabellstar Rescue Ace one, and I figured getting a new one that I can play with Goblin Biker, since I wanted one I could use with Goblin Biker without it. What's a Diabellstar Field Center with Goblin Biker gonna look like? It's gonna look pretty awkward, but if I place a Fiendsmith Field Center, they're gonna be like, oh, well, he's a Fiendsmith enjoyer. And that doesn't even really give the deck that you're playing away, because there's Fiendsmith Kashtira, there's Fiendsmith Ryzeal, Fiendsmith Rescue Ace, and Goblin Bikers is going to be like the last thing on their mind when they're thinking about all the different Fiendsmith decks. Like even like Magical Musket, they'd probably consider before they think about Goblin Biker. So yeah, it's a really cool field center. And this isn't just going to be a one-off video like the Ryuji video. This is going to be a series of meta guide for Goblin Biker in the next for the upcoming format, because we have Supreme Darkness coming out next month. We have multiple events between here and then. Essentially, Goblin Biker is only going to get better from here, but the crossover breakers, Ryzeal and Malice are going to dominate the format. So it's going to be very tough if you're not already used to playing those matchups. So I figured not just to show the combos today, but also to give you guys more ways to play through hand traps. So I'm gonna do another hand trap video, I'm gonna do matchup videos, and then we're also gonna get like some deck profiles and some other variants, right? Because this is just for the Fiendsmith build, but I know there are probably budget players out there who want to use Goblin Biker, and so we can cover that on a later date. Even though like the new card out of Supreme Darkness that makes pile up a way better interruption during the opponent's turn is also going to be something that we're going to be looking into later on in the future. So anything Goblin Biker Fiendsmith related, you can probably expect to see a video of that content sometime in the future. So subscribe, stick around if that's what you want to see. So also, there should be less of a glare, right? Like I can put my cards all the way up to here, and the glare isn't really like that bad. So I kind of fixed the lighting a bit compared to last time, so hopefully it looks a little nicer compared to the last Ryuji video. There shouldn't be an issue with the green screen this time, because there was a little thing popping out from the green screen last video. That shouldn't be an issue this time. And yeah, so let's just get into it. So I wanted to open with an open-ended question. How many one-card starters do you guys think the Goblin Biker has? Very obviously, Gone Wild, Dugg Charger, one-card starters. Grand Entrance, one-card starter. Terratop is a one-card starter, and Xiamen is a one-card starter. So right now, these are 6 one-card starters, right? If you consider that E-Telly exists, it's 7 one-card starters that can start the Goblin Biker combo. If we were to play all of these at 3 ofs, that would be 21 cards that can give us access to the full Goblin Biker engine. And if you look at all these cards, it's like half of these don't even use your normal summon. It's really only Gone Wild and Tour Guide that have to use your normal summon. Xiamen only needs your normal summon if you hard open it, but Dugg Charger, Grand Entrance, and E-Telly and Terratop can all also be extenders on top of normal summons. So that's why the Goblin Biker deck is a little bit weird, because your starters are also extenders. Half of these extenders require you to play certain cards to make them extended. The thing is that this is great. This allows us to play a lot of cards, a lot of engine, and have a lot of gas in our engine, but hand traps and going second is a big problem, because we have to play a lot of bricks and we have to play a lot of extenders to be able to utilize this through hand traps and playing through boards and playing through interruptions and such. So the best thing that we can do for Goblin Biker is to increase our number of starters. So there is no longer just 7 starters. Now Tract is a starter. And if you're not sure how Tract is a starter, we're going to be going into the combo line. It's actually not just Tract, right? Because if Tract is a starter, then that means that the one, the only, the Fiendsmith Engraver has also become a starter for Goblin Biker. And if you're in the Goblin Biker Discord, or if you've been paying attention to Goblin Biker tech for the past few months, then you probably already know how these two become starters for the deck. but if you don't know, stay tuned. Shout out to the Goblin Biker Discord for showing me this line. I do feel a little silly because I was going to events, going to locals, knowing that these cards could have been starters in my deck at the cost of playing 2 extra bricks, but I decided not to use it. And it was very idiotic of me to think of that, because essentially having Engraver only as an extender does not always feel good. If you're not playing this as a starter, there's no point in maxing out with 3 Engravers. You might as well just play the single Engraver and play the clean version, which I was talking about in my first Goblin Biker Fiendsmith combo video. You might as well just play it clean. Just go 1 Engraver to make the Cesar or to make a Lars, because otherwise you're just inflating your deck with extenders that are decent, but they'll just break up your hand, or they won't actually get you to where you want to be if you draw these in your opening hand. Whereas if you play the 2 extra bricks and you turn this into a starter, the deck becomes so much more insane. Now, we went from 7 starters or 7 potential starters to now 9 potential starters. It's actually kind of insane. Now, we don't play all these at 3 of. I'm not going to show my deck profile in this video, but I am going to tell you that the way that we play Engraver as a starter actually allows us to only need 1 tour guide. And that's essentially because the general rule of thumb is that you don't want more than 6 normal summons in any particular hand, because normal summons 6 is about a 50% chance to open in a 5-card hand. So any card that you play 6 of in your deck, just remember that. Like, it's basically a coin flip that you're going to open that card in. So, and that's just to open 1 copy. If we play anything more than that, then it leans towards the likelihood of opening possibly 2. And we don't want to see 2 normal summons in the same hand, because we can't do anything with them unless your other normal summon is Dugg Charger, right? So Tour Guide and Dugg Charger in the same hand, you can just special them out the Dugg Charger, which is fine, right? If Grand Entrance and Gone Wild are in the same hand, you can start with Gone Wild and use Grand Entrance later. It's actually really convenient that, like, essentially your starters, half of them are extenders or don't need your normal summon if you're able to play your turn out. So you don't actually need to worry about the number of potential normal summons that you have, because technically it's around like 7, 8, or 9, but it allows you to have a more flexible deck list, because now you're not just trying to start with 1 card in hand. You're trying to, it's okay for you to draw 2 normal summons, because one's going to be the starter, the other's going to be the extender. None of these cards really conflict with each other in terms of like letting you play through hand traps and letting you play through other kinds of things. In this particular video, our 1-card combos are so significant and just have so much gas that I really don't need to cover 2-card combos. 2-card combos in this deck mostly give you diminishing returns. Like, even 3-card combos mostly give you diminishing returns, and you really only need them if you're playing through hand traps. So as I mentioned earlier, the anti-hand trap video, or how to play through hand trap video, is going to be a different video from this one, because we have 9 1-card starters. Like, how going through all these combo lines and then also going through how to play through hand traps, we're going to be sitting here for like 2 hours. So for today, it's just going to be how to play the Goblin Biker Fiendsmith deck in general, and then we can get more into the details later. So we're going to start things off really simple. We're going to just start with a single Dugg Charger, because Dugg Charger actually has a lot of potential. Even though it is the least valued normal starter or 1-card starter in your deck, it still can get you 4+ interruptions off of a single card. So I'm going to go through both the Dugg Charger lines, or there's like 3 lines, but one of them has like 2 different variants. Dugg searches you Breakout, so whenever you start with Dugg, you always get the Breakout, and then you get to search or special summon Gone Wild from the deck. Gone Wild will get to summon out the Clatter Sploder, and then Clatter Sploder will get to bring back the Dugg Charger. From this point, you overlay both your Dugg and your Clatter Sploder into a big Gabonga, and Gabonga is going to search you a second Dugg Charger. So in this first combo line, we can go into Cedar Fortress, detach 1. I mean, it really doesn't matter which one you detach, because you're going to be using Fortress for a Link Summon. So it really doesn't matter if you detach the Clatter Sploder or not, it's still getting into graveyard regardless. And then you can use Dugg Charger to detach whatever other material, summon himself, and then you're going to link these 2 off for Moon, and then we're going to use Moon, Requiem, and then we're going to use Requiem for cost, make Lacrima. Lacrima is going to mill Engraver, and then we don't even use Engraver yet. We can just Requiem equip to Lacrima, and then we can send both for the Necro Crit Princess. Now we're going to overlay Necro Crit Princess and Gone Wild into the Goblin's Crazy Beast. This doesn't look crazy yet, but we do still have the effect of Engraver to put back Moon and to summon itself. Now we're going to link off. Stay with me here. I know this looks crazy. You know Goblins, you understand why this makes sense. We're going to link off our Crazy Beast and our Engraver into Sequence. Sequence can put back 3 to summon out our Desirae. And from this point, Sequence can equip to Desirae. And then we can use Crazy Beast's effect in the graveyard once per duel to special summon himself back out from the graveyard, attaching Gone Wild to him. And this is actually really good because now on your opponent's turn, you have one interruption with Desirae. Your second interruption being Clatter Sploder, and Clatter Sploder can bring back out a Dugg Charger. Dugg can search you follow-up, and then you can FAX into either Gabanga to grab you Boombox, so you basically have like a something of a hand trap, or you can go into number 75 Gossip Shadow. And because you are detaching Gone Wild from Crazy Beast, it's essentially like whenever they activate a continuous spell or something of that nature, you can use Gone Wild to attach to the Crazy Beast. I do think Gabanga is the better card here to make. By making Gabanga, you're going to have one material that you swallowed from Gone Wild. You're gonna have, and so you're gonna have 3 materials that you can mess around with, 2 that you can detach for Crazy Beast effect, and 1 that you can detach for the Boom Mock. And then the 1 will replace itself when Gabanga swallows a monster. So if we look at how many interruptions that is 1, 2, 3, 4 with the Gone Wild. So that's a 4 interruption board off of just 1 Dugg Charger with follow-up. And you have the stupid OTK, I like to call it. So if they attack into, let's say, either your Crazy Beast or your big Gabanga with a monster that has, since Exceeding Fortress is in the graveyard, if it's attacking into Gabanga, if the monster has 2600 or less, they lose the game. If they're attacking into Crazy Beast, if the monster has 3200 or less, they lose the game. And that's essentially because of Breakout. You get to detach 2 materials, assuming that you don't use Crazy Beast. Now, all of their monsters lose 2000 attack, right? So that's on attack declaration. Now, during damage step, you can resolve FAX and attach Fortress to whoever's being attacked. And now you have a Exceeding Fortress with Gabanga. It's at 4600. If their monster has 600 or less, they're taking 8000 damage to the face. If they're attacking Crazy Beast, and Crazy Beast has 5200, if they attack with a monster that has 1200 or less, they lose the game because Exceed Armor Fortress, they're going to take 4k regularly, and then Exceed Armor Fortress doubles any battle damage that they take when they're battling a monster. So it's the dumbest way to lose a game, and your opponent shouldn't lose like that, but if they're not careful, they will lose like that. So whenever I say that we have the dumb OTK in graveyard, that's essentially what I mean. That if they attack with a monster with a certain amount of attack points or less, they essentially just lose the game from there. Let's say that they have something like a Droplet, right, in their hand. You can still use your Desirae to negate the Droplet because FAX can now just immediately pivot into Dark Knight Lancer, and then you can do Desirae Chainlink 3. Assuming they don't discard a trap off a Droplet, but you know, even if it's like Dark Ruler No More, it's essentially the same idea. They wouldn't need to negate more than 1 monster anyway. Crazy Beast doesn't really have that crazy of an effect. Unless they want to use something like a Raigeki. And then because we have FAX in graveyard, we can use Dark Knight Lancer as Interruption here. You won't have the follow-up in hand. You'll still be able to survive and to play. And since this was a 1-card combo, you're going to have 4 other cards in hand, assuming hand traps or whatever that may be. So that was version 1 of Dugg Charger. Now version 2, it starts the same way. Anytime you go Dugg Charger, you go Breakout, Gone Wild, Clatter, bring back Dugg, Gabanga, grab Dugg number 2, you detach, and then you summon. At this point, this combo assumes that you want to keep your Gabanga on field, so instead of overlaying into Exceed Armor Fortress, you can go Moon into Requiem to Lacrima into Engraver, and then this time you can just Requiem, Princess, Engraver, put back Moon, and now you can overlay Moon and Engraver to make Wave High King Cesar. Now you have 3 interruptions here, actually 4, because on end phase, Gabanga can attach Gone Wild, and then during your opponent's turn, you have Clatter Sploder to detach from the Gone Wild, trigger Gabanga, and trigger Gone Wild at the same chain link. You have Dugg to special and search you follow-up. And you also have Requiem plus Lacrima, to where if you play the Fiendsmith trap card, the Fiendsmith in Paradise, which we've seen a lot of people use recently, you basically get an extra interruption on the opponent's turn, which means you actually have 5 interruptions because it's 2 off of King Caesar, because you don't need to actually detach King Caesar's materials to do anything. You can just use materials from Big Gabanga, and you don't have the stupid OTK in graveyard, but you do have like enough here. 4+ interruptions off of 1 card is still kind of crazy, and it could still win you the game. Especially Wave High King Caesar, especially game 1, can be very, very impactful. Now, if we wanted to do that slightly differently, as I mentioned before, there's a variation on this combo. So instead of just leaving Big Gabanga on field, we can go into the Exceed Armor Fortress. Fortress can detach 1, it can be Gabanga, it can be whoever, and search you the FAX. Now the reason why this can be pretty good is because even though you won't get the detaches or the swallows off of Gabanga, you can actually go on the opponent's turn, Clatter Sploder, detach, summon, and then he can summon out Gone Wild, and then you can go Lacrima to summon Requiem, and then Requiem Tribute to grab Engraver, and then you can activate the FAX to go for either a Crazy Beast or for a Lars. So you can go Lars here to, if you're really worried about board breakers, you can go Lars. But if you're really chill and you can out strategize the opponent, then you can go for Crazy Beast. And Crazy Beast here is going to be 2 more interruptions because it's detach 1 for the swallow of a spell and chop card, and it's Gone Wild 2 for the swallow of any card on the field. So it is still 4 interruptions, and you have Fortress to go into the Dark Knight Lancer, and you have the dumb OTK since you have Fortress on field, and you have Crazy Beast, assuming it doesn't need to use its effect. You have Breakout plus FAX. Now, just be wary here. FAX, you have to activate this during damage step, because if you activate this on attack declaration, then the number of monsters on the field changes because Fortress is on field, and that means that they can redeclare the attack. But instead of doing both of these in the same chain link, you do Breakout first, detach 2, minus 2000, and then you do FAX, banish 1, equip, and then they can't redeclare an attack because it's in damage step. You have the dumb OTK, and you have a swallow off of Gone Wild, a swallow off of Crazy Beast, and you still have 2 negates off of Cesar. That's everything off of just a single Dugg charger. So if you open just Gone Wild, then there is an alternative way that you can play this line. So normally, if you open Dugg, then you can only have these 3. But if you open Gone Wild, then instead of tributing 1 of your 2 monsters to make Clatter Sploder, instead you can tribute your Gone Wild with Breakout to summon the Mean Merciless. And this is actually going to open you up to free extender in Mean Merciless that you didn't have before. So now we can go Big Gabanga. Gabanga can search us. Instead of this time another Dugg charger, we're actually going to get to search Clatter Sploder off of Gabanga thanks to having Mean Merciless in rotation. Now at this point, because we don't have Dugg charger in hand, we have to go for the Exceed Armor Fortress to detach our Mean Merciless, add us our FAX. And at this point, we can use Mean Merciless, detach 1 material, go for Clatter off of Mean Merciless's effect, and then Clatter can bring back either Gabanga or Gone Wild. I like bringing Gone Wild back here, and I'm going to show you why in a second. We can then Link Summon. We no longer have any cards to detach, so we no longer need the Exceed Armor Fortress. It has 1 material, so it can't be used for the overlay of a Dark Knight Lancer anyway. So linking it off here for Moon is actually the best thing that we can do. And this is part of the reason why, although we could have also made a Mellow Melody Jin Exceed, being able to link off the Fortress here for the Moon is a way better scenario, because we have to keep Gone Wild in rotation. So Moon for Requiem. Requiem, as we know, goes into the only Lacrima, and then Lacrima gets to mill Engraver. So now Lacrima gets to equip. We can send both. Oh wait, what the fuck is my FAX? Oh, here it is. I accidentally put in the fucking graveyard. I was like, where the hell is it? Okay, so Lacrima send to summon out the Necroquip, and at this point we can just make the Cesar with just Mean Merciless left. we can go Engraver, put back Moon, summon, and now we get to link off. Honestly, the Mean Merciless follow-up is not worth keeping it in the graveyard for. I'd much rather hit the sequence into Desirae here, because we have 3 Light Fiends in our graveyard. We go Desirae, and we have sequence here. Now, during the opponent's turn, my advice would be not to detach the Gone Wild. Instead, it would be to detach the Necroquip Princess for your Clatter Exploder. Assuming you didn't need to use Cesar on your own turn, it's going to have 2 materials here. So you detach 1, summon Clatter effect. You can bring back Gabonga if you're confident that Cesar can use its material, because FAX can just target Cesar and make the Dark Knight Lancer. Or you can also bring back the Dugg Charger here. Dugg Charger can grab you some follow-up in the form of Grand Entrance. And then FAX can make Gabonga number 2. Gabonga number 2 searching you Boommock. And now you have 1 more negate off of Cesar. You get a Swallow. You have 1 Swallow off of Gabonga. And you have a negate off of Desirae. That is, again, 4 interruptions with follow-up and with the dumb OTK, because you have Fortress plus Breakout plus FAX. Cesar plus Desirae is a field that I think is very formidable, and mixing Cesar with something like a FAX means that, again, you don't lose to a droplet or a main deck droplet, essentially, because now Desirae can interact with droplet thanks to Exceed Number Fortress, or Full Arm and Exceed being live frame 1. And the great thing is that doesn't mean that Gone Wild gets turned off. Instead, that means that when you go for Gabonga and you get Boommock can just detach the Gone Wild, summon itself, and you still get the Gone Wild effect when you go for the Boommock. You could also summon Gabonga in Extra Monster Zone if you want to play around the Anima, but that's assuming that it's relevant or necessary. So that is the Gone Wild combo, and that's just Gone Wild, assuming that you didn't open Entrance. Because opening Entrance actually makes the combo way more formidable and way more interesting. I guess it's time to show you guys exactly how Engraver can become a 1-card starter for the Goblin Biker deck. And this may blow your mind if you don't know this already, but this makes the Fiendsmith engine worth it. And now we're kind of privileged here in TCG to have Engraver at 3, because if Engraver was at 1, this line would not be worth playing. But with Engraver at 3 and 1 tracked, this line is very possible off of just opening Engraver. So Engraver can open the tracked can open the Lurie can then summon itself, link off into Requiem. Ooh, spoilers. Link off into Requiem tribute, go for Lacrima can then mill a second Engraver, which is actually important. you do need at least 2 Engravers in your deck to be able to resolve this combo, the way that I do it, at least. At this point, you can just use Engraver to shuffle Lurie back, actually, because this is actually everything else here needs to stay here. So if you play multiple tracked, you can actually get rewarded for it in this variant. If you want to play 2 tracked. Engraver plus Lacrima makes sequence. And then you can use sequence. Now, one thing that I forget is that sequence doesn't banish to fusion summon, because I'm so used to doing it with Fiendsmith that I do it like instinctively. It's like, yeah, just 3 Fiendsmith monsters, but Fiendsmith sequence can fusion summon any Fiend monster, not just Fiendsmith fusion monsters. So we can use Lacrima and Requiem to make Aerial Leader. Now, Aerial Leader gets to mill any Fiend monster in our deck. Post Supreme Darkness, I think Gone Wild might be the best target for that, but for right now, the target that we're gonna mill is actually Tour Guide, and it's gonna get good in a second. Just stay tuned. Right now, we're going to link off Aerial Leader and the sequence to make the Unchained Soul Lord Yama. Yama gets to search on summon for the Red Dog, and now you can use Aerial Leader's effect in your graveyard. It can banish Fiendsmith Engravers. This is why you need to play 2 of them. So it gets to banish 2 level 6 or higher Fiend monsters with the same attribute to summon itself back from graveyard. So that's why Necroquip really wouldn't do anything in our graveyard here, because it has to be same attribute. So it has to be double Engraver to be able to bring back the Aerial Leader. And we're not going to use Red Dog yet. We're actually going to go link both of them off for the Unchained Soul of Rage. Now, in hand, we can activate our Shavara, destroying our Soul of Rage to summon out itself. So on this destruction, 2 effects will trigger. Rage will trigger to add a fiend monster from your graveyard to your hand. At that point, that's going to be Tour Guide, because we haven't used our normal summon yet, and Tour Guide being the perfect target for a normal summon in our deck means that it's the best play that we can make here. And then Yama is going to trigger, or you have the option to trigger Yama. You don't have to, but I would suggest that you do, because it lets you banish itself to summon any fiend monster from your graveyard, which at this point means Aerial Leader gets to come back once again. And I love Aerial Leader because when it banishes 2 monsters for its effect, it doesn't get banished when it leaves the field. It just goes straight back into graveyard, meaning we can revive it one more time to overlay 2 level 6 fiends for 1 Waking High Cesar, which is great, right? I mean, we searched a starter and we have a nib protection right here, assuming that they held it for whatever reason. Now we get to normal summon our Tour Guide, and Tour Guide on normal summon is essentially our most explosive normal summon in the deck. So we get to go Need Merciless, we get to overlay, go for Mr. Gabanga. Gabanga can search us 1 Dugg Charger. Dugg Charger can detach 1 to summon himself. Dugg Charger on effects. We're gonna switch it up a bit and go for the Goblin Biker Grand Pileup. Dugg Charger detach 1, summon himself, add Pileup. Mean Merciless detach the Shavara to summon herself back out, and Shavara is going to set the Abominable Chamber from deck. This is going to give us 3 more interruptions on the opponent's turn. This 1 trap card, essentially, because we get to revive Soul of Rage, and then we get to use Soul of Rage to target any special summon monster our opponent controls, and then make an SP Little Knight with it, meaning that it's going to be 1 swallow off of Rage and then 2 banishes off of SP Little Knight, potentially up to 2 banishes. So Unchained here is kind of nutty, and think about it. These 2 cards right here are the 2 bricks that you have to play to turn the Fiendsmith combo into a 1-card starter for Goblin Biker. Think of how privileged we are that we get to play 2 great fucking extenders. Like, we're playing stuff like Pileup, FAX. Previously we were playing Angel Statue anyway. All we have to do is just add 2 more slots to our extra deck and just add 2 more bricks to our main deck, and now Engraver becomes a starter. I think it's a pretty good trade-off, and it's not even really that big of a deal if we open either one of these, because as long as we open Engraver, or there are different lines where we could potentially go into Yama to set up Rage if we have enough extenders. So instead of going for things like, again, like I said earlier, like Silo Hat Rabbit, we would go Yama into Soul of Rage instead. So it's really great, and I think it's really convenient that these are the quality of cards that we get to play. I've never used a pure Unchained deck, but being able to use these cards now, or utilize these cards now, is really awesome. We can make Exceed Armor Fortress. Exceed Armor Fortress can detach 1 to add our FAX, and this is going to be the last piece of the puzzle here, is we're going to overlay these 2 to make a Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. Now, this end board looks kind of weird, but our trap cards more than make up for it. We can't make Desirae using this end board because Desirae would require us to go through Fiendsmith sequence, which we've already used, right? So we've already used our sequence effect, meaning we can't make Desirae. So instead, we're going to make the most out of the cards that we already have. We can't really do any more link summons. If you play this variant, you don't have any other links besides SP Little Knight and Moon left in your extra deck, and you have to save your SP for when you're going for Soul of Rage for it to be 3 interruptions. Otherwise, you really can't use Soul of Rage. So we can't make SP preemptively. We're going to leave our field like this, and let's just count the number of interruptions before our opponent's turn. So we have 1 negate off of Cesar, 3 interruptions off of 1 chamber resolving. We have a Pileup, which is 2 interruptions, so that's 6. We have Gossip Shadow, which is a monster negate, and then we have Full Arm and Exceed, which at this point is going to get us up to 2 more interruptions. So it's going to be 7 interruptions off of just Engraver. So let's play it out, right? So let's say that, I guess in this field, we kind of want to utilize our Pileup first. If we get hit with a Raigeki, we have to emergency Pileup into Crazy Beast. But if we're able to not be hit by any sort of board breaker, then we would resolve Gossip Shadow first, draw a card, which the card really doesn't fucking matter. But then we get to go Pileup, target our Gossip Shadow, overlay into Gabanga. Gabanga searches Boommock. Pile Up attaches itself to Gabanga. And now we can use Boommock at any point to detach Pile Up, summon itself, Gabanga will trigger, and then we'll have Pile Up live in Graveyard to swallow any sort of graveyard play that our opponent may have. So let's just set that up now. So after Cesar uses its negate, you can use Full Armament Exceed to make Dark Knight Lancer. And this is actually really convenient because Fortress is already on field. So you can just banish FAX, attach Fortress to him, and now he is going to be able to use his effect here to swallow a monster non-targeting. And then we can use Chamber. And I was just using Chamber earlier on in the turn, before if possible, just use it like on their first special summon monster because you don't want them to dodge Rage. Because Rage targets, and if the monster dodges Rage's effect, then he doesn't get to link summon, so you lose 2 more interruptions. So use this on a really easy target, like something like Relinquished Anima, like something that's just gonna sit there, it has no quick effect, no nothing, to leave the field, so that you can Rage into your SP Little Knight, banish 1 on summon, and then banish itself and any other card on field at another point during the turn. So leaving off in that situation, oh shit, oh, accidentally knocked the camera to the side, don't worry about that. But so in this situation, we were able to play out the whole turn, and we got way more, it's way more than 6 interruptions, so our opponent would have to be really good at the game to play around this many interruptions, assuming they opened either no non-engine or no board breakers to stop us from playing our turn. But that is the way that it plays out completely. Obviously, not everything is going to go your way playing the turn like that, but you get a lot of interruption, a lot of mileage off of the single Engraver. Even without a Desirae, there's a lot of ways that you can pivot, adapt to what your opponent's doing. And it really goes to show that it's really hard to beat Goblin Biker once they get going. It's not like a OTK, but it's at least strong enough to where no reasonable person is probably beating that board with just engine. It's going to take opening non-engine or something of that case to beat that board. So you want to talk about explosive? Let's look at Grand Entrance. So essentially with that Fiendsmith combo, we're allowed to only play 1 tour guide because essentially opening Engraver is like opening tour guide if it goes all the way. If we don't open tour guide, then that's also fine because we have so many more 1-card starters in our deck that will survive if we don't get tour guide, if we don't get the strongest 1-card starter in our deck. But Entrance is like, if there's a 1-card starter that's close to tour guide, Entrance is pretty damn close. And I'm going to show you why. So we resolve Entrance, we grab the one Gone Wild gets us Dugg Charger gets us Breakout, we tribute the Gone Wild, go for the Mean Merciless. Just like before, go for Gabanga, and when we go for Gabanga, while Mean Merciless is already in rotation, and we already used our Grand Entrance, and we already used Dugg effect too, we can just go for Clatter Splitter. Now the reason why this is so great is because essentially this is going to give us 3 more monsters in rotation, because it's going to give us 3 more summons, because Mean Merciless is going to be able to summon the Clatter Splitter, which is going to be able to summon a Goblin Biker from Graveyard. So that's 2 summons right there. And then Grand Entrance is going to be able to banish itself, add back our Dugg Charger, who hasn't used his effect to summon himself yet this turn. So it's going to be 3 extra summons. So you get 3 extra bodies just by resolving Entrance instead of resolving either Gone Wild or Dugg Charger to start, which is great. So just like before, when we have we do have a way to detach, but it's not optimal to detach using this yet. So we're going to go Fortress. Fortress is going to detach Mean Merciless to get us the Full Armament Exceed. We can use Mean Merciless, detach 1, it really doesn't matter who, summon it itself, summon Clatter, bring back the Gone Wild. At this point, we can also use Grand Entrance's effects, and we won't have too many other Exceed materials for the rest of it. So we can use Grand Entrance to detach, to add our Dugg Charger back to hand, and go for Dark Knight. And now, whenever we need that final Exceed material, that final extender, we can go Dugg Charger. So now, link off into 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven. Moon makes the Requiem makes the Lacrima mills the Engraver, equip the Requiem, send both, Necro Equip plus Gone Wild. At this point, you can make Cesar. Now we can use Engraver, put back Moon, link 2, sequence, put back 3, go into 1 Desirae, Desirae, and then. So just like before, it's going to be 3 off of Dark Knight and then 4 off of Cesar. We can detach 1 off the Wave Hiking, assuming that we don't need it, and turn FAX into Gabanga, and then that means we can make Boom Mock, so that we have a swallow off Gabanga, a swallow off Gone Wild, 1 negate off Cesar, 1 negate off Desirae, and then FAX to attach and then to swallow. So that should be 5 interruptions right there off of just Dark Knight Lancer. Now, that's just 5 interruptions. Let's take this backwards a few steps. Now to show you guys a different line you can take with Goblin Mecha Grand Entrance. You go Gone Wild effect, Dugg, get Breakout. Breakout, we're going to tribute the Gone Wild, Immerse, play Gabanga, that's us, the Clatter Splitter. Now, because the Immersis is in rotation and we don't have Dugg in hand, we go FAX, which at this point allows us to go summon Merciless by detaching 1, doesn't really matter which one, summon Sploder, bring back the Badass. So now at this point, you can use Entrance, detaching the Dugg to hand, Link to Yama effect, grab Shavara, and me Merciless gets banished because summoned by its own effect. Yama plus Sploder makes Rage, Pop Rage, summon Shavara. Did I do that way too early? I think I did. That was way too early. It is what it is though. Gone Wild plus Shavara, Wave High, Dugg, detach, grab Chamber, Link 2, Moon into Requiem into everyone's favorite Lacrima. This is banished. At the time of destruction, we didn't have a Fiend to bring back off of Rage, so that's where I think I misplayed, but kind of just is what it is at this point. Lacrima is going to mill Engraver, summon Engraver, put back Moon, just Link sequence make Desirae by shuffling back R3, and then you can see sequence equip, and now we have 1, 2, 5, and then 6. So playing it out, we have 1 negate off Cesar, and then we can FAX to Cesar into Dark Knight. So now Dark Knight is a swallow by banishing the FAX. Now we have Desirae negate, and then we have Chamber, bring back Rage, swallow to go SP banish 1, SP banish 2, and then before the turn is over, we can use Clatter, detach, summon itself, summon Dugg can grab us, follow up, and then SP can come back. And so that right there is a 6 interruption board just off of 1 entrance. Very versatile, very cool, very awesome. We got 2 hard negates and like 2 swallows and then 2 banishes off SP with follow-up. So I think it's pretty good. We have full combo with Gabanga again, and because we didn't use our second Dugg, we can go into Dugg again. We can go into we should just be able to get game turn 3, because like if we get like any hand trap like that, it'd be game. There is also another alternative route with entrance. We're gonna be here with fucking entrance for fucking days. So right, I don't even need to explain it at this point. You guys already know what's going on. Fortress, detach, get us FAX. So just like before, summon. You go entrance, detach Gabanga, add back Dugg, 2, Moon, Requiem, Lacrima, Engraver. You actually do want to make Necroquip here, but yeah, you can. You make Necroquip and then you link off with the Gone Wild. Yeah, Gone Wild plus Merciless into Yama Shavara, Rage, Pop Rage, and now this time Rage can bring back Engraver, and then Yama banish, summon back Necroquip, and now you can use Engraver's effect in hand to add you to add you Tracked, so it means you get follow-up, and Necroquip can trigger to draw you a card, which is why you may want to do things this way, and you still get to go Cesar, Dugg, detach 1, Shavara, get you Chamber, and then Engraver, put back Moon, summon, and then link these 2 off, or a sequence, put back 3, 1 in extra deck, 2 in main, Desirae, and so it's the exact same board except you have follow-up and an extra card in hand, or you have even better follow-up. So I think doing it this way is slightly better, actually, the way I just showed. And that's if I keep the other way in the video. And then yeah, you still have the same thing, right? So one negate off Cesar, then you get to go FAX into Dark Knight. Fortress is already in the graveyard, so you should be fine. Desirae negate, and then Chamber to go into Rage into SP Little Knight, and then you sauce them up. And the card I drew there was Nib. Like, imagine, you know, one of your draws is something like this, cards that can do something, it can be very impactful and very, very fun for you. Alright, so as I may have mentioned before, in my build with Engraver as a starter, I'm only playing a single tour guide, but I figured tour guide is still one of the most explosive, or the most explosive starter that Goblin Biker has, so I figured to show you guys an updated tour guide combo using both the Unchained stuff and without the Unchained stuffs, and we'll kind of see how that goes. So we'll normal summon tour guide, get us into Mean Merciless, get us into the big Gabonga. Gabonga's gonna get us to Dugg, detach, summon, and Dugg can get us entrance. At this point, you want to summon Fortress in the extra monster zone because you're about to summon like 4 monsters on the field at once in like one. So you get to go entrance, and you're just going to grab Gone Wild, but you can't actually resolve entrances, the second half of that effect, to summon Gone Wild because it's not level 4 or lower. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to use Mean Merciless to detach Gabonga, summon, effect, summon from hand, effect, summon from deck, and effect, summon from graveyard. We just summoned all 5 Goblin Biker monsters. That isn't Boom Mock, right? Like, but our field is literally full of Goblin Bikers. And then we're gonna, before we forget, use Fortress to search FAX. We can link off. Really doesn't matter with who because they're all gonna get linked off anyway. We can go Moon, into Requiem, into Lacrima, Mills, Engraver. And then we're going to use Requiem to equip to Lacrima, Send, or a Necro equip. You then link off Necro equip and Mean Merciless, banishing the Mean Merciless to get 2 Fiends, or Yama. Yama then is going to add us Red Dog, and we just do Yama plus any monster to make Rage. We can then use Shavara, pop Rage, both Rage and Yama trigger. So Yama is going to bring back, banish itself, bring back Necro equip. And Rage is actually going to bring your Engraver back to hand. And so since we summoned Engraver, or since we milled Engraver, we didn't use his hand effect yet to discard himself and to add Tract. That's going to trigger Necroquip to get you to draw a card. Any card from your deck, right? Which doesn't matter. So we're going to use Engraver here to put back Moon. We can overlay these 2, and you can do this before you summon Engraver to go for Cesar, just in case. And then we can overlay these 2, a Crazy Beast. Now we can resolve Tract, go for Lurie, discard Summon. We can link off the Lurie and the Crazy Beast to make Sequence, can put back Lurie, Lacrima, and Requiem. Oh yeah, I forgot Red Dog is going to get us Chamber. That's really important. That happens when we link off the Crazy Beast, Red Dog gets us Chamber. That's why we do it that way. Because we're essentially not losing anything if we link off Crazy Beast early. Go Desirae, go Sequence, equip, set Chamber, set FAX, and we can use Crazy Beast effect. You can attach Dugg Charger to him because the Gone Wild is currently under Cesar. Normally you'd want to go Gone Wild under Crazy Beast, but circumstances. And then Gabonga on end phase can attach Gone Wild to him, so that either you can trigger Gone Wild when you go for Clatter, or you can use Crazy Beast to trigger your big Gabonga and trigger Gone Wild at the same time. If when you use Cesar it's more convenient, you can also, when you detach Gone Wild off of Cesar, you can also attach a monster to one of your goblins. So now, looking at how many negations we have here, we have 2 off of Cesar. FAX at any point in time can overlay either Crazy Beast or Cesar into Dark Knight, meaning we have a play around Dark Ruler no more. Same thing with Chamber. Chamber can bring back Rage in case we don't need to preemptively FAX. So that's 2. That's 3, because this goes into Dark Knight Lancer once these 2 have either used all their materials. And then Dark Knight would be able to swallow a monster with FAX in Graveyard, so that's why this is 3. Desirae is 4. Crazy Beast is 5 because you have at least 2 materials here. And then if one of these gets detached, we get to take another material, so we wouldn't be out of Exceed materials. entirely, and the Gabanga gets to swallow 2. So in theory, we get to have 2 more Exceed materials on these guys, and that's the exact 2 that Crazy Beast needs to swallow a spell or trap card. So any continuous or field spell that they may activate that has an effect on activation, Crazy Beast can swallow. So that's why this is 5. Gabanga is 6. Gone Wild is 7. And just make sure I counted that right. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because this is 3, thanks to SP. So that is a whooping 10 interruptions off of just 1 tour guide because of the Unchained engine and because of how much and how explosive it can get playing with just 1 card. And thanks to Necroquip, we drew 1 more card in our hand, and we were able to get into tracked into Lurie because of Rage adding the Engraver back to our hand and then being able to discard it to go for tracked. Kind of nutty and just completely insane. I know we're locked into Fiends when we control Shavara face up on our field when it's summoned by its own effect, but Crazy Beast is a Fiend, Wave King is a Fiend, Sequence is a Fiend, so you shouldn't have any summoning restrictions, conflicts while this is on your field face up, because you have multiple options that you can go into that are all Fiend types, no matter how you want to sequence that. It really doesn't matter if we have Lurie in our opening hand, as long as we get to the tracked. You know, track can just add the Lacrima or add another Engraver and then discard the Lurie. So we're always able to get the Lurie into graveyard when we have tracked in hand, and this is all off of 1 card. They need to open multiple non-engine to beat this. There's no way you're beating this with engine. You'd have to be like Ryzeal's Super Saiyan 2 to beat this with engine. Even if you negate Cesar with like Aggregator, you have to play through triple swallow, because it's like Gabanga swallow, Gone Wild swallow, and Chamber swallow, and Rage swallow, and then SP banish. Like, how are you playing through that? You know what I'm saying? So that's why Tour Guide is the most explosive opener. So in my last video, I showed a combo of what Tour Guide can do. If you don't play the Unchained engine, it's essentially Silhouette Rabbit plus Desirae plus... I need to look at the combo I made just to make sure that it's real. Oh, it's Gabanga add Gone Red, and I need to see that shit again. That was sick as hell. Hold on, that was sick. I need to see that shit. Dude, Gabanga add Gone Wild is actually kind of nutty. The sequencing on this is actually insane. I had to look at my combo replays again, because these combos get so complex with how sequence heavy they are that like it's really easy to fucking forget. But okay, Tour Guide combo number 2. I mean, there's plenty of other Tour Guide combos, but I think I'm going for like the most explosive. So Tour Guide combo non-Unchained number... Yeah, I guess this is the first non-Unchained combo I'm showing of Tour Guide. Go for Gabanga. Gabanga does not add Dugg Charger. Look at this, look at this. We're adding Gone Wild from our deck to our hand off of Gabanga, but we've already used our normal stuff. So here's the crazy part. We go Fortress. Fortress detach. We add we add the Polar Hermetic Sea. You guys didn't see that. And then we go Mean Merciless, detach, summon, Mean Merciless, summon, Gone Wild, summon Dugg, add entry. This is not the most insane fucking shit that you've ever seen. Now we need to make space. So I believe we go Dugg plus Merciless, go Moon to Requiem, Lacrima. Yep, that sure is how I sequenced it. Now we resolve Grand Entrance, Exploder, summon Clatter, bring back Gabong. Now this is even crazier, because in theory, Dugg hasn't used its effect from hand yet. So in theory, if we had another Exceed material, Dugg could summon itself back from hand to use it as a body, but we'll see if that's necessary. I don't want to mess this up. Requiem effect Engrave, equip the Lacrima, send both, or the one Necrocrypt Princess, and guess what we do here? We overlay both into everybody's favorite Exceed that you totally saw coming, Evil's All Lars. Now we have something of an Omni Negate on the field, so check it. This is actually kind of nutty. Engravers, putting back Moon, summoning himself out, linking off to sequence. Dude, I've even impressed myself with this one, because I could barely see this shit coming. In theory, this could be Cesar too. I just like this because this means we can have double protection from board breakers, game 2, game 3. So that goes back, these two go back, summon out Desirae. Is that nigga in here? Yes. Is it not? Black ass put this damn card. There's one last play to make. Crowd's waiting. Oh, dude, they were under Engraver. That's where they were. Engraver was hiding them. This is where the last bit. There's a secret card in here. Well, not so secret. You guys are gonna know what it is like right away. We're sitting right here. Sequence, Desirae, Fortress, Lars, Gabanga, and for my final trick, link off Sequence and Fortress. Which to me, this is so funny. This is a card I haven't actually summoned or resolved in fucking months. For you guys, if you just came off my other video, you've probably seen this card, but still have. I actually stopped playing this card like a while back because I just got so tired of drawing this card. But it is still part of the combo. So if we look at how many interruptions we have here, if we equip Sequence to Desirae before we forget, and then Gabanga can attach one Mr. Gone Wild. Taking a look at how many interruptions we have Desirae, Silhouette to pop a spell or trap for him to negate a summon. FAX in this case could go either way. It could either turn Lars into a Dark Knight, or we can go Gabanga, or we can go Clatter Sploder into a... So either way, FAX is giving us at least one more interruption. So we have two options there. And then we have the follow-up with Dugg Charger, regardless of if we go for Dark Knight or for Gossip Shadow. So that's 4. Lars is 5. And then Gabanga is 6. And then Gone Wild is 7. So that'll be 7 interruptions. And we have follow-up with Grand Entrance. So if we have an Exceed material, we get to add back, like, let's say Clatter Sploder or something to our hand so that we can keep playing next turn, add another Gabanga or add something else, and just keep going, just keep fucking interrupting our opponent and playing really good. Or is it you? I don't know which one it is. Not important. Dude, these combos are intense. I am sweating my balls off right now trying to do all these combos in the same video. It's a 7 interruption combo, so without Unchained it could be 7 interruptions. If you want to go Cesar instead of Lars, that would make it 8 interruptions, because instead of negating 2 cards, or instead of negating just 1 card, negate 2. But obviously the negates here are different, right? You have a lot of options, a lot of choices for what interruptions you can make and how you can make them. You don't have to make Silhouette here, but I just think Silhouette here is such a good choice as it gets you 2 more interruptions and it's just a free link monster. So getting to the end here, Engraver still with us, still with you guys, and we're gonna go through what we do with any 2 level 3s, right? So this is how Xiamen or E-Tully could be a starter. Essentially, we go Foxy Tune, and then we just have any card in hand to discard for Foxy. Summon Xiamen number 2. So with Gabanga, you're going to add the Goblin Biker Dugg Charger. Dugg Charger is going to detach 1 to summon itself. You're going to add Breakout. I guess the order here, you want to go Fortress first. Fortress to add 1 FAX. Then you go Breakout, Tribute Dugg, summon Wild, Wild summon Clatter, and then Clatter can actually bring back Gabanga to the field. And then at this point, you have no more use for FAX. I mean, why is this engraved? You have no more use for Exceedum or Fortress. So now we go Moon into Requiem, Lacrima, Engraver, Equip, Send, Necroquip, Overlay, Crazy Beast, and then we can do Fiendsmith, putting back Moon, Link away, Sequence, make Desirae, putting back 1, 3, Equip to Desirae. Before you end your main phase, Crazy Beast summon back, and then Gabanga, attach Gone Wild. And opponent's turn, the way we play it out, if we don't need to emergency FAX, then we go Sploder, detaching, I guess, detaching whichever one, it really doesn't matter which. I guess you detach from Gabanga in case they have the effect that destroys, so you want to keep the card from Crazy Beast. Dugg searches you follow-up, you can FAX these 2 into Gossip Shadow. So that way you have 1 negate, 2 negate, 1 swallow off Crazy Beast, 1 swallow off of either Gone Wild, and then 1 swallow off Gabanga. So that is 5 interruptions off any 2 level 3s. And just like I mentioned earlier, we also have the dumb OTK engrave. Since we have Breakout, Exceedum or Fortress, and FAX in the graveyard, they attack into any of our attack mission Goblin Biker monsters, and they are taking over 8,000 damage. if they attack with someone under 26 when it comes to Gabanga, or under 3200 when it comes to Crazy Beast. So yeah, those are all the 1-card combos, and it's not even all of them. Like, if I'm being real, it's not every single 1-card combo, but it's a pretty extensive guide on just how versatile the 1-card combos get in this deck. There's an array of different end pieces and different cards that you can make. I'm pretty sure I covered all of them. I showed Promethean Princess line in my very first Goblin Biker Fiendsmith video, so if that's something that interests you, you can go there and watch that particular combo. But as I mentioned, none of this is about playing around hand traps, because for the most part, your extenders are kind of made to play through hand traps. You don't need extenders to play your turn. For the most part, extenders would not really change much of the combos here, unless the extender is Mean Merciless. Or unless the extender can get you into Mean Merciless before you resolve either an entrance or a Dugg charger. Then things can change. But otherwise, for the most part, the combos are going to stay the same. You may be able to make like a Fiendsmith Link if you play it. I mean, not Fiendsmith. Unchained Link if you play it in certain lines. But otherwise, like, it's going to be like 90% the same. After, dude, it's been almost like 2.5 hours for me. Maybe even close to 3 hours, I think, of play testing and trying different things. So if you guys enjoyed, let me know. As I said, I got meta guides coming out. I'm going to show you guys how to play through hand traps, Ryzeal matchup, Malice matchup, and other potential matchups if you guys are like interested, and just so that we can get Goblin Bikers going. Supreme Darkness with the kick-ass Goblin Biker, which is probably going to have its name changed, and yeah, more to come. So it's been your boy Nistro here, signing out.